and cold and see my two daughters and my grandson.
Up in the mountains, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
so,
You're not going Southwest Airlines, though.
no, American Airlines and then Delta.
Okay, James, where's Maureen going?
You left.
Hey, I signed up for that 10 o'clock on, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right,
We're on a
I
roll.
was gonna put some pictures up here, but I'm technically inclined, I guess, or not inclined, whatever it is, but we do have it recorded. So that's the most important, and we'll keep working on the bugs, so y'all can begin.
This meeting is called to order. Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Cody Abney,
Here.
Vice Chair Ed Fleming,
Here.
Panelist Jill Bloom, Panelist Jack Bowes,
Here.
Panelist Rogers Holt,
Here.
Alternate Panelist Joe Pitarva.
Here.
Alternate Panelist Aurora LeBrun, Council Liaison Linnea Bailey. Here.
I believe that establishes a quorum. Next, we'll invite public comments. Are there any?
No, there are not.
And we can move on to item number 1 on the consent calendar, and that's approval of the meeting minutes from December 8th, 2022. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second it.
Okay, you ready for a vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Panelist Holt,
Yeah.
Panelist Bowes,
Here, I mean, yes.
Panelist, Vice Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Chairperson Abney,
Yes.
and alternate Panelist Pitarva.
Can I vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Next, we'll have a report from officers and council liaisons. The first one on the agenda is a report by Platinum Roads Panel Liaison. That would be Council Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. The only thing I have to report is that we've received the package and everyone's reviewed. It is slimmed down, a little more straightforward. I pointed out a few clerical changes that I worked with city manager Rule with, so those will be attended to. I don't really have some exhibit, but one of the pictures I hope we might show was Palmer, because Palmer is a chip seal road that was paved 13 years ago. It has approximately 100 trips per day, which is right on with what the roads we've selected will have. And it is in very good shape for a 15-year-old road. And we hope that's the kind of work we're going to get out of the package that we're so.
Okay. Are there any questions? There wasn't an invitation for discussion on here, but I'll ask anyway. No questions? We can move on to a report from the city manager.
All right, I was planning on have pictures, but because of technical difficulties, we won't have pictures tonight. So I will email you, the pictures. Do they have these in front of you? If not,
They do.
I don't believe I do.
okay, I think we were planning on, I will email these to you, and we can pass these around too. It's
Sure, that's fine.
as we're talking, you can look at those. Wanted to clarify one thing. in the city council recap that was done by, Councilwoman Hines and approved by the mayor, there was a line in there in my report that we received an RFP from, K-Freeze. And there's been some, confusion that we have been sent an RFP to fill out. But what that is that we have received the RFP that K-Freeze has provided for us. It's a little bit awkward in the language, but no, we're not going out for bid.
It's the RFP that basically K-Freeze has created at our request
Correct.
to solicit bids
Correct.
for phase one of
Exactly.
asphalt and chip seal.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's just a clarification. Second thing, in the last meeting, this committee directed staff to contact the homeowners for the drainage project between Brook Hollow and Westwood. We were in the process of doing that. We got to looking at the preliminary sketches. We actually went down there and looked at the property. We realized that there is probably a lot more area affected than just in between the two houses. So we have scheduled a town hall meeting next Tuesday, the 24th, here at City Hall. Y'all are welcome. I hope y'all got an email about it, and if not, I'm sorry.
It's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday at 5:30 here at City Hall. It is a listen to the citizens that live in that affected area. We sent out 22 letters to those residents. We actually went out there and looked, and we identified 22 houses that could probably be affected by the flooding in that. And so we have actually talked to some of those just on the street from when we were out there. But 23 letters went out to those people, and they were all invited, have received some response. K-Freeze, Abby our representative from K-Freeze will be here, Abby, and, or AB, and he will answer any questions that our citizens have about that drainage project and hopefully explain it a little bit better.
Okay. That feedback that you got from the citizens, was it enough to gauge the attendance we could expect?
No.
Okay.
Some of them they were all,
Yes or no question.
yeah, they were all very interested. I got one email, that he would like to come, but he was unable to come. No, I don't know.
Was enough information sent to them so they fully understood or understand what the implications are? I mean,
The only thing that we had to send out to them was that diagram that K-Freeze gave us, that one page, that information page is we sent that with the letter. They came back and then said, I don't understand what this is. And I don't think that it has been fully explained to the residents. And I have a bunch of questions just from being out there and sitting that I need answered on that project. And from talking, and I did talk to K-Freeze and yeah, there's a lot of questions. And then he's going to be here before the meeting to meet with me personally. We're going to talk about some stuff, but he will be at the meeting to answer anybody's questions.
Well, is there any chance that, some of us are just, we don't know what's going on with the drainage stuff. We all know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't look totally ignorant in that meeting. I mean, is there any way we can get a heads up before we go into the meeting? Because,
Have you,
what?
was it this committee that came up with the drainage to do
Jack, I believe this is his first time to attend this committee.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Rogers, what?
And Rogers too.
No.
I will send you the information I have. It is very limited in what I have. I believe it was a preliminary kind of thing that was put out. And so I will send you what I have, but I have very little information about the project or what is going to be done.
I have a question also along your line, Jack. I believe at the last meeting we talked about, I wanted to know what easements were in existence. And that was my question to K-Freeze is that, we're talking about going out there and seeing if we need any easements from anybody. I'd rather find out what we have first before we go asking for easements. We may not need any. And I would think that would be public information that you guys could determine in a cursory examination of Hayes County records, is what easements, if any, are on record. What do we have to work with?
Yeah, I'll call AD and I'll have them bring that with us,
That'd be
or
great.
with them, because
Educate us.
I don't want to get off topic here, but in the diagram, it goes between the two houses
Right.
onto the golf cart or golf path, and it stops.
Mhm.
It's gotta go somewhere from there.
Huh?
Or does it go under the road
That is my question.
with a pipe?
That's my question.
It looks to me like there was a very rudimentary drainage system installed when the subdivision was probably first built out. And through collapse, deterioration, and zero maintenance, that it doesn't even really exist anymore.
But is there like a French drain that's got clogged up, or is
Yeah.
there a drainage pipe? there?
There's like a 12 to 14 inch culvert that at one time passed through the front yard of the property to the west of the problem area. And it doesn't even daylight anymore.
Well-
There's no other end of it.
If you drive down the street, if you drive down, Brook Hollow, there are, past the golf path, there are two culverts in individuals' yards where their, driveway is on the west side. And if you look back, going towards east, there is no outlet for that water.
No.
I went all the way down to the bridge and to Hog Creek. I got out, I went underneath that bridge, and I was looking for an outlet for that water. So there's two culverts, very small, maybe 12, 16 inches, but there's no outlet.
We can put a rubber river through there if you know where the pipe is.
I think actually there's been masonry work done.
Yeah, I think
Where
when they
it
did the
used to
road,
daylight.
and that's what I've heard, is that when they did the road, they cemented and they blocked it off. Well, this is what we need to find out before we go forward, and this is what we're gonna be asking Kate Freeze to, before we, do anything. I think a lot more information needs to be gathered.
But what bothers me is that if K Freeze doesn't have answers to what we're asking now, we got a room full of people.
Yeah.
We don't look like, I don't know what we'll look like.
More on it.
Well,
More.
no, this
Yeah,
is,
I agree. That's why they may be in existence out there now, but, and we're cut off somehow or another, but that's what I keep saying. They're bound to be an easement, you would think, if they put in something of that.
it
In existence that we could use again.
is a bigger issue than just easements.
Okay.
What this meeting is for is to listen to their concerns and how they are affected by it.
Listen to their concerns, but they don't understand what what potential solution is, because I'm not sure we understand what the solution is, or even Kate Freeze understands the solution. So then we got a bunch of people up there trying to figure out something where there's no solution.
No, they're not figuring out anything. What they're doing is they're telling us how it floods and when it floods. And it's from that information. You cannot find a solution unless you have the questions or what's happening there. We don't even know what's happening there, but I feel that it is important to listen to those residents' concerns about anything that we do. They should be part of them, have a say in it.
Well, I understand that, Kevin, but how much has K Freeze dug into this and done an engineering assessment? I mean,
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know.
Do you know, you're okay, Bruce? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know on the drainage stuff,
Yeah, I share your concern. I think we need to have more information before we go into a meeting and they come at us, with torches and.
Well, this is
I'd like to know.
this is a city hall meeting. I didn't put the Platinum Roads, so you're not attached to it, although you are more than free to come. This is a city hall meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, you can be here, but I did not attach it to Platinum Roads. As city manager and staff, we want to hear from the citizens. And we were gonna convey that to you, or we would convey that to you, or you all can be here yourself.
If I live there, what do you expect me to say? If I lived over there,
Mhm.
the water comes off the golf course, that's essentially where it's coming off,
No.
right?
It's street flow,
No.
sheet flow off the street combined with it coming off the golf course.
Yeah. And so what do you expect the citizens to say? I mean,
Well, from talking to those citizens, they had a lot different reaction. They were glad to meet with us and that somebody was taking an interest in that area. And so they want to come talk and tell their stories. They have pictures. One guy wanted to go get his whole album of pictures that he has of flooding and give to me. And I was like, no, just wait till the meeting.
okay,
We have to, and like, we don't even know where the flooding is coming from. Well, we do. But those people have pictures, documentation. They have lived there forever. They can tell you the real problem. And so instead of us saying, hey, we need to figure out where it's coming from, why don't you talk to them and they can probably give you a lot of that information that
Okay.
K-Freeze can take back and start doing their analysis on whatever they need to do.
So if I'm living there, I said, well, I got a foot and a half of water coming by my house.
Every time it rains.
Okay.
And this is what I had to do.
Okay.
I'll make a suggestion for that, what sounds like the forum for that's going to be, if there was a 12, 15 photograph PowerPoint exhibit, like somebody went out there with their camera phone and just took a picture, like you see something's clearly a problem, take a picture of it.
We've already done that, and it's gonna be
So
scrolling on here.
when someone says, so that stupid culvert, oh, you mean this one? Go to a picture and everybody can discuss it.
Thank you for stealing all my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
No, we have been out there, we have taken pictures, it's going to be scrolling on that screen because I'm gonna get the technology. And when they come talk about their house or their situation, hopefully we will have a picture of it. Because it is not just one house, it is not just one area, it is all the way up to on top of the hill of Westwood and all the way down to Hall Creek of Brook Hollow. That's how far the extent is. We have picture of the road, the concrete. We have pictures of driveways where they have poured their own little, I wouldn't say gutter, but their own thing to get the water down.
And that's all over the city, by the way, these burns.
Well, there's a specific one on that one street that they did specifically for that, and the other houses don't have. One has a trench. It's about 2 inches in front of his. He poured concrete slab, and that's to get. No, it goes down his property line. So hopefully that water goes in that little ditch that he has, and it keeps going down the street. But it keeps on getting every time it just gets full of junk, and so it doesn't. I mean, they have tried many things to get that water down the street by themselves. So this is not a solution. We're not going to tell them this is the solution. This is what we're going to do. This is a information seeking meeting for city staff to really understand, especially me for not being here very long, kind of the issues that they have been dealing with for a very long time.
Have the houses, the homeowners you contacted in 22, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
does that include people who actually flooded or are people at risk of flooding?
Both. Yes, we basically went all the way up the hill on Westwood, and we went all the way down, well, from Westwood all the way down to Hog Creek on Brook Hollow. And we also contacted the golf course, because if you look at that, that drainage ends at the golf course on the street. Well, that street is uphill from the golf cart path. So my question is, how are you gonna get the water up the hill, and then you're gonna put it on the street, or wherever you're gonna put, and then how's it gonna get down to Hog Creek? Because if you just put it on the street, all you're gonna do is increase the flooding at the individuals at the end of the street that have a terrible time now, that already have a foot every time it rains.
Is Brook Hollow the only street affected street wise?
No, Westwood is too. If you think of Westwood, it comes down to, Brook Hollow, and then if you go west, it goes down to Hog Creek. So it comes up from the top of Westwood,
Right.
comes down, goes to the street, but it goes between the two houses,
Okay, right there.
past the golf cart, and then the golf course is on the other
Right,
side,
right.
and then it runs all the way down to
Right.
Hog Creek.
But it sits there right at the cart path for days.
Yes, exactly.
I want to.
And so we're talking
Ask
about
a
right
question
away.
about that, you're talking about the actual depression on a cart path that turns into a lake.
Yeah.
The more I look at that, I can't understand why you wouldn't, to fix that, why would you not just fill that in and put a clay cap on it? and not allow there to be a depression there at all. I know there's a tree there, but you know, maybe that tree might have to take one for the team.
I mean, that's all good suggestions.
I don't know.
I think
I'm not an engineer, but
I mean, that's one option that we can look at. My further thing is, okay, you have that small area that they put their little drawing with the little Z, but somehow you're gonna have to get it to Hall Creek. It can't just run down the road, because it's doing that now. And if you put some type of drainage that is above ground, it's just gonna make the situation worse. All you're doing is taking all that water up on Westwood and you're dumping it on Brook Hollow to go down to Hall Creek.
And so the houses on the right of Hall Creek, even in the heavy rainstorm right now, they get water in the garage?
Oh, yeah. I don't know about water in the garage, but yeah, they have water that deep every time it rains.
Where?
Down on Brook Hollow going down
I don't
down.
understand, but I'm there, when I drive, in fact, I took pictures, I don't know, but I took pictures last heavy rain we had,
Mhm.
where that lake formed, you know, right there, on the cart path. But I didn't see any water at all in anybody's driveway. And then,
I encourage you to come on Tuesday and hopefully they'll bring some pictures.
okay,
I'll bet, so Hall Creek runs through my backyard.
Mhm.
I own the property on both sides of it, and whenever there's a real rain, Hall Creek becomes about 6 feet deep behind my house and about 15 feet wide.
right.
We haven't seen a rain like that in over a year,
Yeah, it's been a while.
almost a year and a half, I think, at this point. And I don't think we're gonna see the type of situation where it puts a foot of water in everybody's yard until we get another rain like that. I mean, the spring just started seeping behind my house and it hasn't seeped in a year. So it'll be the thing where it rains between us and Mountain Crest. If it rains about 5 inches real fast, we'll have a really, really educational view of what happens over there at the Westwood place. But we just haven't seen it in 18 months,
Unfortunately,
fortunately.
you know, we'd like the rain, but we don't like the flooding. But that was, you know, come back to your point, you didn't know, or you didn't realize how much it went down the road. Well, two or three houses from Hall Creek, we were out taking pictures and he came out and wanted to know what we were doing. We told him, and yeah, he was very appreciative. He showed us what he did. He said he has pictures. He's the one that wanted to give me the album of all the pictures he took about the flooding. So it's not just in that centralized area, it's further down. And I think we need to listen to them to see how far it is and how extensive it is. Because it's just not at that golf cart path, you know, filled with water for a week or two after it rains.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've done. We're not proposing any solutions or anything like that, but I want Cave Freeze to know what they're dealing with.
So you're trying to determine the scope, and
Exactly,
only the people that live there will know the true scope
correct.
of what the
Correct.
problem has been.
And we will have pictures up here. We have taken pictures already. We'll be scrolling through those, and if they say, you know, my house, we can maybe bring that picture up and look at the driveway or the concrete in front of their house or the mitigation that they've tried to create. And they can talk about why they did that, and which is probably some of the reason why it happens is because individuals are trying to protect their property and, you know, no fault of their own, they make it worse further down the road.
Kevin, that's all over the city.
Yeah.
Everybody, I did that on Brook Hollow.
Yeah.
I put a finished burn on mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy next to me, where I live now, put one of those, you know, little small asphalt berms in his driveway, like this high, so the water won't go to his garage. That's all over the city.
Yeah.
I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying
I
what
mean,
they do.
it's a fact of life. All
Yeah.
of a sudden. You kind of have to improvise.
Well, hopefully, you know, with us doing this or whatever we can
That's a good
do,
idea.
it will help alleviate that, so you don't have to make a burn, and your neighbor doesn't have to make a burn. And the next person that moves in there after you doesn't have to do something else. Because if somebody did something up the street, if they started doing it, you may have to do something in addition to what you've already done. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Okay,
That it,
anything else?
I still have a couple of things, but.
Okay, go ahead.
The second thing, I have met with, Ryan, and we have talked about getting the RFP ready for the bond package. So we are working on the RFP for that, to get all of that completed. It's gotta be assessment, they gotta figure out their engineering fees. So sometime this summer, is when we will have the RFP, hopefully almost done for y'all approval, beginning of summer, or sometime during the summer.
Sometime,
Beginning of summer is prime construction time for asphalt.
yeah, we don't wanna be pushing it away in the summer, because then we're gonna,
Well, the RFP won't be ready till the summer. So whenever we, get that, we can, we can do it then, or we can wait.
we don't wanna wait. We
Okay.
haven't paid the thing in 2 years.
Well, we're going to pay some here pretty soon, because we're gonna hopefully move that RFP, that we have in front of you today, in front of council for the 25th.
We're on this, on the big project. You know when the money's gonna be available?
Yes,
Money?
I'm working with a financial advisor for the issuance of the bonds. I met with him the other day, actually. We can issue it before we do the roads, or we can do it after we do the roads. Because you can do a
Right.
you can, it doesn't really matter. We have the funds because they were approved by the citizens to do the roads. So it is looking right now that we are probably going to issue the bond sometime in July. But what we need to figure out is how much exactly we need to issue in those bonds. Are we looking more at 3.5 million? Are we looking at 3.9 million, whatever it was? Because if we can get a proposal that's less, we can issue less bonds.
Well, okay, this is January.
Mhm.
You know, based on Brook Hollow, that RFP was done in about 2 months.
Brook Hollow?
So why are we taking almost 5 months?
To get it done?
Yeah.
How much, what was the mileage on Brook Hollow?
About a mile.
Okay, on what we're looking at now is about 5 to 7 miles
I
for the
know
rest
it.
of the
I
roads.
know that.
So you're taking 1 mile that took 2 months, but we're doing a lot bigger scale of a project than that 1 mile. We're doing 5 miles. So there's a lot more analysis that has to go into it, because they're gonna have to look at the roads and see how much needs to be fixed on the side and everything. And it's not just one road. There's a bunch of other roads. And Brook Hollow was a straight shot. These are mile or 2 miles over here and a mile over there and whatever, because it's gonna be whatever's left over that you didn't do a couple years ago, and what the small roads didn't do. Hopefully, we can get everything else. And so we want to make sure that we get everything else, and so we want to make sure that we have everything in place.
Can I ask for some clarification?
Sure.
What's the total length of all the roads in Wood Creek? I know you know that.
Okay, there's, I guess, we keep rounding it to 10, but I think.
That's what I want to do,
I
like, this is
think-
around.
Okay, let's round it to 10. We've got 1.5 miles done, and then we're gonna do about 1 mile with these small roads.
What's the total though?
So at least it's 7 miles.
We have 7 miles inside the city limits?
No, we have
No.
10. But what will
Well,
be
no,
done is,
7 after,
I'm starting at the first step.
yeah,
How many miles of road do we have inside the city limits?
10.
10, very close to 10? So with Brook Hollow and Wood Creek Drive out of the way, that's 2 miles gone, right?
Pushing 2 miles.
Okay, so let's call that 2 miles. Now we're down to 8 miles. In this phase 1 package, how many miles of street are we gonna pave?
1 mile.
So now we're down to 7 miles, right? We have 7 miles to go?
Yep.
That's the actual number?
Yep.
Okay. I think whenever we talk to the public about this, we should keep all of our numbers as close to
And I'll-
exactly accurate as we can, because there's at least one faction that will seize on that and worry it like a dog with a rat.
And yeah, and I'll work on the exact numbers, but we also need, I'm working on color-coded roads from all of that we have. One color is gonna be what's already done, Brook Hollow and, is it Augusta, that's.
No, Wood Creek Drive.
Wood Creek Drive, okay. That's done. And then another color for the chip seal, the
Mhm.
small roads will be a different color, all the little small streets. And then another color would be everything that the bond package covers. And so you can see 3 different times that it was paid and color coordinated that street between which one. So hopefully there's a color on every single street.
Okay,
But that's what we're coming up.
I've done that with my level, where I know when every road was paved, when it was last paved, what's remaining.
Right, we need to get that sheet that has the map of the city. You know how, I think we were in there, we highlighted them. That's what we need to do, but a different color for every thingy, and I'll work on that.
yeah, a really good striking visual aid would probably be helpful in
Right.
all the conversations that we're going to have going forward, especially if we're not going to see an RFP until June.
Yeah,
Has the city given K3s a deliverable date on that?
no, not yet. We talked, was it last week? Yeah, last week, we just kind of sat down and got the ball rolling on that. But we'll narrow them down.
Let's do, that's just a suggestion of mine. I'm not giving anybody orders by any means. I wouldn't presume. But labor always expands to fill the time allotted for it. So if we drag that date back, there's a possibility we can get this thing going and have all the streets paved by the spectacular, maybe?
Probably.
Wouldn't that be one?
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Are we
That's
considering
a good, that's a good.
one
way to
bid
look
for
at that.
7 miles of road?
Yeah,
Correct.
miss it, so we miss it, but still, we got an endpoint.
Yeah.
Correct. But if you don't set an endpoint, and it should generally be a semi-aggressive endpoint, then it will go on forever, and that goes back. I can't remember the name of that law, but labor always expands to the time allotted for it. It's an axiomatic law of the universe.
Sure.
True.
That way we can beat the
Or be
winter that will postpone everything.
No, I have no problem with setting dates and for goals and to get stuff done, so.
Good.
Right now, it's a little, I'll get some dates for you and some timeframes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be giving anybody instructions. It's just,
Oh, no.
I can see the potential for this dragging and dragging and dragging, and here comes fall and we haven't done anything yet.
Analysis,
No.
analysis.
Exactly.
Now, that is, yeah, now, we're gonna get it
And
done.
our goal is to do all the streets.
Correct,
That's good.
correct.
And.
And we don't know how many streets we're gonna do until we get back all of the bids from the small roads package.
Correct.
Because if it comes in too high, we're gonna have to add some of those onto the other bond package.
Mhm.
So we really can't go out there until we actually get the bids in for the small roads to figure out exactly how much road we have left. Before we can do anything, we gotta know how much road we have left.
You look at the budget, so we don't really need this item, this item, this item. There's other ways to,
Well, yeah, you
in
can,
that case.
yeah.
And there's another way. If there's not enough to asphalt overlay the 7 miles, there might be some that need to go with the Dovecote chip seal.
Yeah, and you can get, quote for all chip seal and all overlay, and then you can, you can have one company do the chip seal and one company do the overlay. I mean, there's a bunch of options you can do, but it's just right now, it's so early in the process. Let's just worry about getting the RFP and getting some dates in line, and then we'll hash through this is stuff that we need to hash through, or y'all need to hash through
Yeah.
as you go throughout the next couple months in the committee meetings.
There's a good possibility that the big boys could give us, well, anyway, this phase 1 RFP is probably gonna be an accurate gauge of what we can expect this year with, I don't know exactly, but let's say 20% escalation by mid-year. What things we're looking at, what we're seeing in the construction industry.
That's maybe apples to apples, that's true, but with this being a smaller project initially, the larger project might see a better economy of scale by having larger.
Yes,
quantities.
we are. I am almost counting on that,
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm doing that and with my fingers crossed, counting on it.
sure.
I would anticipate that and hope that it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Plan for the worst and hope for the best, but I would rather, plan for the worst case scenario and then come under and have some little extra on there.
Do you have anything else to report?
That is all I have, unless y'all have something. for me.
That was a great report. Thank you for it.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on that agenda item? If not, there is no unfinished business or general orders included in this agenda, so we'll move on to new business. Item number 2 under new business is introduction of new and of new and acknowledge returning panel members and alternates. If you want, I'll introduce myself to all of you. My name's Cody Abney. I moved my family here. I have my wife Amanda and I have 2 small children. I have a 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old boy. We moved here 3 years ago from South Austin, where we lived for many years. And we brought our kids here for the country, the city, and the schools. So we've been very happy while we've been here. And my only motivation on this panel is to fix the streets, because every time one of my kids falls down in our street, I have to take her to a surgeon. So it's not the same as having road rash. It's not the same as having skin knees, not when she has to go get stitches. And that's my motivation for working on this panel. My only motivation. Who's next?
Okay, I'm Ed Fleming, born and raised in Austin, moved here 7 years ago. My wife Patty and I are very happy, and the only reason I'm here, and you said it well, I'd like to help with the streets for my community I live in, and look forward to it. We have a bunch of great grandbabies, which means they go home, and we only stay a few days, so it's a nice arrangement. And that's it.
My name is Roger Pope. I moved to Wimberley finally in 2010. I've been coming here because my grandparents both retired here. So I've been coming here all my life, so I'm destined to retire here. My wife Misty and I live obviously on Champion Circle. No, that's what happens when you get old. And my main reason for wanting on this board was same as yours. I think it's time we get some roads made. They quit this talking about it.
I'm Jack Bowles. My wife Lynn and I, we moved up here. We bought a vacation home in 2009. Then we lived south of Houston and decided we kind of like it up here. So we finally built a house up here 7 years ago. The reason I'm on this is I was on 2 previous roads committees. And I think this roads committee has an agenda that can really get some stuff done. And that's why I said, hey, it's time to get the paving done. And I was part of the little group that decided to pave Wood Creek Drive. And so I said, hey, I just, other than playing golf, got to do something else. So that's why I'm here.
That's true. Good.
I joined the road panel because when I first moved here 19 years ago, the roads I thought they were lovely. And then in 19 years, there's nothing been paved on our street. And I thought instead of complaining and being mad about it, I'll join the panel and do something. And then I was elected chair, and then they asked if I wanted to run for city council, and what the big concern was, but what about the roads? I wanted to make sure that momentum didn't stop, and I think we've got a great panel now.
That's good.
Even better, so, look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Bailey. Thank you for all your help too, previously on this panel.
I'm Joe Pitarva, and I've been here since 2010. My wife and I moved out of Houston, and it's so scary to hear stories about people digging 2-inch ditches to drain water. That's how we survived in Bel Air. We had no place to put the water. Anyhow, what I like about this committee, these committees get some work done, and that's really great. And it doesn't strike me as being a very political kind of committee, because I think we all would agree that streets are not anything to debate over or negotiate over. It belongs to everybody. No matter where you live, you're driving on somebody else's street at some point. So I think that's important for us to think about, and I know that y'all been doing a lot of good work in that line. So it's fun being there. I've been on P&Z for some number of years with Jack, as a matter of fact, in some of our younger years, and we put some time in the city council this past year, and this is all part of the game. It's all good.
Good, great. Thank you for joining. I'll say this is the thing that I've talked about with certain members of the panel. The time for debate and all of that has already passed. It's time for execution now. That's how I feel about it. I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but we spent a year debating it. Now it's time to execute.
Hey, Ron, why don't you tell us about where you're from and your background?
Sure. Yeah, I'm with the firm K Freeze and Associates. Actually, been with the firm just about 6 months. So, I think when I first came to one of these meetings was probably only a couple months in, but, I'm also, new to the area. I moved down here from, St. Louis, Missouri. Here by myself. Currently, I have a wife and 2 kids that are still in St. Louis. My kids are twins and seniors in high school, so I'm letting them finish up there before they all move down here. So we're still figuring out where we're gonna settle down exactly, but somewhere around here, maybe. But my background is, I used to be a city engineer up in the St. Louis area in the past, and now I'm working for the consulting firm here and been working on these, street projects.
Are you a civil engineer?
Yep.
How many engineers do we have in the room? If you're an engineer, raise your hand.
How many what?
Engineers.
Oh.
Engineers.
You afraid that slow the process?
No, I'm,
Yeah, that's why I have to raise my hand, you know?
I'm operations manager for a commercial construction company. I deal with engineers on a daily basis. Some better than others, I can tell you that. Okay, let's move on to the next, if nobody else has anything on that, let's move on to the next agenda item. That's election of chairperson and vice chairperson for 2023. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we, nominate, for chairman, Cody Atney, and for vice chairman, Ed Flynn.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Panelists vote.
Yes. What are you calling us?
Panelist.
Oh, I couldn't understand that word.
Okay.
It's a dirty name.
Vice Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Chairperson Athney,
Yes.
panelist Kadarba,
Yes.
and panelist Hall.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
There's nothing else in that item. Let's move on to item number 4, and that's to discuss and take appropriate action on the K-Freeze request for proposal for residential chip seal project report from January 9th, 2023.
And if I may,
Mm-hmm.
y'all know that Ryan is here. I have given him some questions that y'all have, given me. So y'all can answer, yep, you can ask whatever you want of him of this RFP. And, so that is why he is here.
In the darkened responses, that's K-Free's response?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me ask a question about the first one. What criteria will the contractor use to determine the width of the street, i.e. paved to a mailbox or paved driveways? I think the driveway question that's easily answered. I mean, if there's a driveway there, butt up to it. The intent of the project is to resurface the existing pavement at its current width. Rather than current width, we need to probably communicate to bidders or the successful bidder, maybe, that it might be the implied width. The width of the street used to be before the edges completely unraveled and a foot fell off of every side of it. So, anybody see that differently?
Well, see, I took a picture, you know, these came from my street. And in the 15 feet is the resurfacing that was done some years ago. And what happened is the street width really is 18 and 19. So if you look at it, you'll see that when they paved it, they came within a couple feet of the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm concerned about is the footprint.
I really think that we can address that without having an inclusion in the RFP, because we can just enforce it in, what is it? It's not pre-bid, but it's post-award, or.
I mean, we have multiple ways to make sure it gets done right. The bid essentially has quantities that were already measured based on what the existing pavement extent is now. So we were out there, we measured out to the true edge of pavement, not 3 feet off like the picture.
So you did so you did determine what the original street width was, is that correct?
Well, I would say.
Oh, pretty close.
I mean, yeah, where there's solid pavement in some form now, I mean, if the
Yeah, I know.
pavement's completely deteriorated
Yeah, I
and
know.
there's just grass, we're not gonna chip seal over grass.
Yeah.
Oh, but, yeah,
But we can repair though, that's my point. If the driveway, someone's concrete driveway, and that's fixed in space, it's staying there forever. The contractor just needs to understand that his resurfacing butts immediately to it, it touches it. Okay, but my question with the streets is, and I can't, there are many, many examples, like the street has defined edges as you're driving down it, and then all of a sudden you see the unraveling. The street becomes more narrow, you can see the base material that was installed under it, the asphalt is gone, because it's pulverized and gone. We don't want to chip seal that narrow section of road for however many feet it is. We want that built out to the implied width that's on either side of the deteriorated roadway. And I don't even think, I'm not sure that even needs to be addressed in here, but it's got to be addressed at some point.
yeah, and what you were alluding to earlier, we will have a pre-bid conference, which is an opportunity for all the contractors to come out and walk the streets with us. We'll mark areas ahead of time, make it clear what that extent is, and, we can include staff like Kevin and maybe, look at all those locations ahead of time, make sure we're all on the same page. And then secondly, once a contractor is selected, we will have a pre-construction conference with that contractor to again go over all the expectations, including, what the true extent of the work is. And then while they're out there, we'll have somebody there observing and making sure that it is completed as you all.
Okay, I do think that for the pre-bid and post-award, I think those conferences, I think that is the correct place to make sure that all the expectations are aligned, like really explicitly.
Yeah.
And
As a city engineer, that's pretty reasonable though, isn't it, to get that width out there where it abuts the old driveways?
Yeah.
Instead of the eroded area that's long gone.
Yeah, this
We don't
sort
want
of
to surprise you.
Yeah,
I have
that's,
an exception though, because on our street, well, and I pulled out flat maps and everything, I don't know why K-Freeze just took, here's the way the paving is. They just took a narrow little strip and marked it, so it's not going to pave the existing, it's gonna cut out about 10, 12 feet of it. So there's some places where, according to the markings, it's incorrect, it will be a mess if that's not, whatever the rationale was, I'm not sure,
yeah,
but
I believe, and I wasn't the one that out there marking it, but I believe the markings were identifying areas that were either gonna be leveled up or repaired. They weren't marking edge to edge of what was gonna be chip sealed. But I would imagine some of the markings are probably faded by now, so we'll go through and mark that in your
well,
corner.
it was more like, this is the paved area,
Okay,
and these little marks, they were twin marks at the edges, and they were 17 feet apart,
okay.
but that didn't follow the road,
Which street was that again?
Countryman.
Country Road?
All the way at the end.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's, you might say a cul-de-sac at the end
So
okay.
you're gonna remark those prior to the pre-bid meeting.
Yeah. we'll do
Yeah, that'd be good to do.
of it. Okay.
Nobody say we tricked them.
Yeah.
so one thing that sounds, the question that you just asked, or the concern that you just brought up, that sounds a lot like question number 9.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
I want to invite additional discussion on this. I don't, just my take on this, I think these are sound answers to each of these questions. And I've reviewed the RFP and I actually had another set of eyes take a look at it too, to make sure I didn't miss anything. That, in my opinion, this is a sound RFP. But that doesn't overrule any questions or anything else anybody else wants to ask. I just don't have much because I have seen way worse RFPs than that. I've unfortunately had to bid worse RFPs than that, so I think it's sound. Anybody feel differently? I'm not trying to chill discussion either.
No.
The pictures that I took today, I've taken from time to time on Palmer. In no place did this take place. The paving was snug up to every
Yeah.
driveway, so,
That's shoddy workmanship.
yes.
You don't have to clean up overspray if you don't get within a foot of what you could overspray on.
But according to the markings, this is where we're gonna pave on that street.
Hmm.
So I'm concerned that that's revisited.
We can align expectations and pre-bid as long as we know that that's at the front of everyone's mind.
Yeah. Yeah,
Our city manager can certainly drive that home.
Yes,
yeah, I mean,
we'll do it in the pre-bid.
we have multiple opportunities to make sure that that's clearly communicated, and ultimately, we have to decide whether we're gonna pay the contractor when they're done too.
And actually, there's clear language in the RFP, and I'm sure that will be in the final signed agreement, where the city has courses of redress, particularly for quality assurance and quality control. That's clearly quality control. Yeah, the contractor has to perform. I mean, they're contractually obligated, they'll never see that retainage until that's fixed. That
Right.
would be my assumption.
Yeah, in the contract, there is a retainage that the city keeps until it is signed off by K-Freeze after they look at everything that was done and making sure everything was done correctly. And that'd be one of the issues where it would be not done correctly.
But I wouldn't want the contractor to argue that they built per specifications for quantities, that this hasn't been.
No,
cleared up.
because we're gonna talk about that in the pre-construction meeting and the pre-bid meeting.
So for QAQC, when the work's actually performed, that's gonna be a representative or series of representatives from K-Freeze working directly with city staff to inspect the quality of the work
Yes,
and either approve or decline it.
correct.
And with K-Freeze, that's gonna be either a PE or people working under the supervision of a PE, correct?
Yes.
Cool. Looks legit to me, but I put it on the street.
Where does Aaron come into that?
So it's my understanding, he was the road supervisor for Hayes County.
Right.
And he came in and gave us an overview of basically how the municipal or county paving business works.
Right.
And it was extremely informative.
Mhm.
And he has gotten, permission from Commissioner Shell to work with us
That's,
as a liaison, as a consultant. They don't have the capacity to actually pay, which I think
No.
that was hoped for.
He would probably be the most help to us on day one and the second to last day.
Okay.
He can look at how the work starts and evaluate how the work finishes. That's just my opinion. And I'm not pushing on anybody else, but that's where he would probably be most useful. But if anybody feels differently, please.
I just want to clear it up.
Numbers,
I would think you'd be able to come out and say, yes, they're doing it right. Or actually, it would probably show up and say, I know everyone here because I've worked with them
I
for
would,
years.
I would probably add one more, probably in the middle of it, just to,
Make sure that we're.
yeah, we don't come to the end, it's like, oh, it's all
It
about.
all went off the rails.
Right, we can kind of check it in the middle, you know,
Yeah.
hey, they're doing a good job, and then when they, yes. But I would add one more in the middle.
There's a good possibility he'll show up and say, oh man, I know Jack. And Jack will take care of it all. Don't even worry about it.
Probably.
And we should make it clear to him, he doesn't have to be here every meeting. That's the expect, what we would really most appreciate.
well, that was great to get him on board.
And the other question is, who chooses the contractor we're gonna send the RFQ to?
I think I'll put it up because it's a municipal contract. You don't speak to that. And it goes on.
I'll let him, go ahead, you can.
Yeah, I mean, there's minimum requirements for advertising, so we do that, but we also send it out to contractors directly that we know of. There's multiple websites, platforms that post various bids that contractors regularly look to, so we'll try to get it out there as much as possible.
So it's more them coming to us rather than us going to them. Except
And
for.
I compiled a huge list.
I'll interject. Sipcast is the main place that it will go on, that if they have any questions about it, that's where they would put it at. But we, Councilwoman Bailey, she also wants us to inform local pavers that it is available. So we will send, I think she had 10 or so. So we will invite them to bid on this, and if they want to, they can put in the bid. And then we will also have these available at City Hall for anybody to walk in and get. But the main thing will be on the Sipcast website and any others that K-Freeze knows of and wants to put out there. So there's basically 3 ways that I know that we're gonna put the word out. Thank you.
So basically, there's really no milling on this thing, so you're gonna essentially just, asphalt level up, you're just gonna lay asphalt, I mean, chip and seal on the current road, other than repairing areas. So you're not pulling up the current.
Only in limited areas where it's severely deteriorated, we'll dig
So
out
you're
sections.
gonna overlay on top of that.
Where it's severely deteriorated, from what I read in the RFP, it's gonna have to be pulled up, the base is gonna be pulled up, the base is gonna have to be corrected. Whatever's going on in subsoil will have to be fixed.
Well, I picked up on what Aaron was mentioning. He said, you gotta be careful about overlaying over alligator type cracks. I remember him saying that.
Because there's an underlying reason for that.
That's correct.
Yeah. I thought 3 maybe took care of that, right? If you have alligator stuff that you're gonna take it out and repair the base as well, then put that back in before you do any.
Yeah, I mean, there's different severities of alligator cracking. I mean, if you try to address every situation like that, you'd be completely reconstructing the street. So you've gotta identify those areas that are actually not only cracking, but settling and showing that they're really unstable, and we excavate out and set a new base for those limited severe locations.
And to gauge the severity of the alligator cracking or whatever the deterioration that presents itself is that something that K-Freeze is gonna point at and say, that obviously has to be done? You think you take it up?
Yeah, we've already identified those locations.
Okay.
And developing these quantities.
And also to counterbalance that, you have a contractor that has to warranty it.
Yeah,
Yeah, if he has to warranty it, he doesn't want to come back for warranty costs, so he's gonna say, well, we need to go ahead and do it right.
Hey, what's the warranty on this? A year, 2 years, whatever?
So a year.
Yeah, okay. I know it's on 6. You think you can do this in a day? I don't see how in the world you're gonna pave 9 streets in 1 day or 2 days. That's moving equipment around.
I watched Alpha Paving do it one day, they did a mile in a day.
That's 1 street. When you got 9 streets, all of a sudden the city's confused because they try to drive out the driveway and they can't. When we did these streets like Wood Creek Drive, you were told, hey, park your car on the other side of the street. But now you got 9 streets, you're trying to do that to this city?
I also think we're dealing with a smaller contractor who is a chip seal specialist.
It is smaller streets. The problem would be for, you're going all the way down at the bottom and you're going all the way up to the top. It's not doing those, 1, 2, 3, 4 streets, down on the south. It's because you're just going to the next, those cul-de-sac. It's taking all that equipment up to, whatever circle that is. I forgot what the name of it is. Wildwood Circuit, taking all that equipment up there, because it's gonna take a while to get all that stuff up there. So going to, because there's a place down there, there's way up there, it's not all kind of in one place where you can keep going. So, it might take 2-3 days to get it done, but we'll work that out.
I would guess from what I've seen with commercial paving, it's not gonna take more than 4 days. And if we tell the contractor that he has to take more than 4 days, the price is gonna go way up.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah. But we'll notify as much as we can.
You see what I'm talking about, a citizen, a citizen gotta understand, hey, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I gotta move my vehicle on the other side of the street, because you're just doing one side at a time, right? And you come back and do the other side, you're not doing the whole street at one time. You can't do that.
Right, but those seats are so small that you can move your car and they'll be done pretty quick, relatively quick, and going down the quarter of a
How soon
mile.
after you drop it, you can drive on?
With the new materials, it's same day, that's what I've been reading.
Oh, it's very quick.
Yeah,
When you say very quick,
Wil-
how many hours?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it could be less than an hour.
Wilson Circle, the equipment, they'll stage, okay, I'm just speaking from my experience. For Wilson Circle, they'll stage the equipment the evening before, after they've already paid another street. They'll show up the next morning, right as everyone is leaving for work, that leaves for work. And when those people come back, that street will be fully paved and all the equipment will be gone.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's,
But what I'm saying is that residents got to know, hey, they're gonna pave in front of my driveway. I can't get out of my driveway, so I've got to move my car over across the street or somewhere else. And that's 9 streets. So I mean, that's gonna be, getting the word out, because worst thing in the world, somebody drives out there and says, oh, hell, I can't drive.
that's what we have a city council and city manager for.
All right.
We will broadcast it, we will do whatever we can, and we will coordinate with the contractor to make sure, if they say they're gonna do it in one day, they're gonna do it in one day, or they're gonna tell us what roads they're gonna do that day, so those residents can make, proper, plans to get their car out of the way, because once they go in some of those little things, it may not take them very long to do it, but they're not gonna get in there while they're in there working. It may only take them an hour or two to pave it, but they're not, if they live at the end of the cul-de-sac there, that quarter of a mile, they're not getting in their driveway. And so, yes, that's on City Hall and city staff to make sure that those residents know, not parking on the street, don't park, give them room, try to park your car, but that is something that we will work on.
I predict a lot of the citizens are gonna be out in their driveways cheering as the work is taking place.
They want to have a
Particularly
shelter.
at Wilson Circle, I mean, it's worse than a dirt road.
It's a car path.
A dirt road would be an improvement.
And Wilson Circle's nothing but, just an oversized car path.
Yep.
One other thing I had over here is that, where would I have it? It was about the past studies. There's a comment that no studies of,
Number 7.
number 7.
Yeah, that's about the alligator cracking.
Yeah,
No, it's not. That's about the core samples. I'm sorry.
the core samples and the modulus reaction calculus. I don't have that study, but I saw that. And that's been done in the last, 10 or 12, 15 years. There's a number of studies that have been done by other engineering firms on these streets. And your statement implies that's never been done. So I'm not being, critical of that statement, but there's core sample studies have been done, and there's been this modulus thing. And the only thing I understand that is, what is it? You just read, it's like a mini seismograph, this shallow seismograph. You're resonating off a metal plane or something, aren't you, when you do that?
I'm not that familiar with how that works.
It's a plate. I know you put a plate on a road and you resonate off that plate.
Yeah.
You
I know exactly what you're talking about. MLA did it for, the whole Wood Creek Drive. They did it everywhere. When Alpha paved it, as they were milling,
Yeah.
MLA Geotech was out there and they were putting the plate down all over the place out there.
Stuff.
And when they got a bad one, they dug it up with a backhoe, filled the whole thing in with asphalt. It was fantastic
And
repair.
they did about 30 feet of it, I guess, from 12 coming in. I guess that they dug up about 20, 30 feet there, as I remember. But anyway, it's a statement that says, but there are engineering studies that have been done by the city.
They're all on the website. They're all up there, under the roads.
I remember Chairperson Abney, one of the first things you said when the committee got together was, we don't need any more studies. Everything is just a little worse. So we've had studies and studies and studies.
And I'm not an engineer, but the soil type here and the type of country this ought to be excellent for building roads on. I mean, it's half rock.
I agree.
Yeah. And we ought to have a very stable subbase.
But the statement says there's no studies that have been done in the past. So that just kind
Kate
of,
Freeze did this study.
one of them.
Yeah, they did.
The one that was recent, what didn't involve any type of core sampling, it was a visual inspection of the streets, the citywide pavement assessment.
Well, that's just walking
But,
down.
yeah.
Can I make an observation? The streets are out there telling on themselves. You know where it's bad? It's where the streets cave in. Here it is.
So I mean, I just, you know,
We have been there for 20
It
years.
just kind of bothered me that we have previous engineering studies have been done. And it just shows essentially we got a good base. But, you know, that's why
I understand.
I think the intent of this condition is to state that we're unaware of any major subsurface problems that a contractor should be aware
I
of.
would agree with that.
But maybe we can reword it a little bit.
But, yeah, it just,
Yeah, as just a matter of fact, all of those, supporting documents, supporting ones are on the website under Platinum Rose panel. Goes all the way back to 2005, 2013. So there are on there, if anybody wants to.
it might, and those studies imply that we've got, as best I can remember, a dozen through it at one time.
So Kate, that statement made by Kate Freeze that you don't like, and no, I don't fault you for that at all, that you don't like, that plays into Article 3, bidders representations, 3.01. And you'll see how that plays into items C, D, and E. And that is generally a contract, and I really see it in this one, it's shedding liability after the fact, both for K-Freeze and for the city. So if these guys go out here and they're just doing overlay, we're not talking about serious depth construction. If they go out there and somehow they, like say they, I don't know, they hit a spring and all of a sudden water just starts shooting up in the air, K-Freeze didn't know that, neither did the city. And that's an important element, both in this document and in the agreement that's signed. And I think that statement you don't like, and then these three articles in here, in Article 3, I think those play hand in hand. I think you need one to have the other. I'm not sure about that though, because I'm not an engineer, I don't write contracts, but I sure do read them. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you know, if you do have some previous studies that are publicly available on the website, we can just make reference to that.
Yeah.
So please visit whatever website.
Yeah, that Article 3 is pretty important. In item I underneath that, on the next page, sums it up. The bidding documents are generally sufficient to indicate and convey understanding of all terms and conditions for the performance of the work for which the bid is submitted.
That can be I mean, if y'all want to, that can be a recommendation. If you do approve this or want to move it to council, that can be one of you approve the RFP with the recommendation of K-Freeze references the previous road studies posted on the website. Or what they, or, you know, something in that way. That way they'll read that and say, oh yes, we accept this, but we're gonna add that recommendation from Platinum Rose.
Is there a motion?
I make the motion.
I'll second. Like that.
You'll have to articulate it, or we can't vote on it.
That K-Freeze referred to previous road stuff.
Listen, we make a motion that K-Freeze would.
Hang on a second, let me time out. Before you make that motion, Jack,
Let's talk about
if you make that motion,
it, yeah,
all of those previous road studies have to be exhibits in the RFP and in the contract.
I don't want
In my opinion, it's not necessary,
to. I
but
agree with that.
you get a say to it.
Well, I agree. Yeah, that would be, that would delay it substantially. And there might be somebody in K-3 saying, hey, this is a bad assessment. Then we're.
Yeah, and I haven't read the assessment, so I don't know if anybody knows what's really on those assessments. If it really, all that information
Why do
applies.
they need to include that statement at all?
No, I don't believe they do.
Why did?
Well, the K-Freeze statement about, they don't know.
It's a disclaimer. It needs to be in there to show the liability from the city and from K-Freeze.
Yep.
Which I don't care, it's not that I don't care, I don't have an interest in K-Freeze entirely, but it does need to shed liability to the city.
But see, but we know there've been previous studies.
And they're on the website, if the bidder wants to, I mean, they're on the
So
website.
How can we? I mean, the city's aware that there've been previous studies.
Where is the statement? Can we all read it together real quick?
4.02.
Towards,
I got the order here.
towards the back. I think.
It's, 4.02, that's reference supplemental conditions.
It's
What page is it?
It's pretty close to the back. It's under supplementary conditions.
What page is it?
Well,
There's not page number.
it's
No.
it's just a few pages before the color aerial map with all the different.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. No.
I have it. I can just read it. if you
Yeah,
want.
would you read it to us, please?
It says, no reports of explorations or tests of subsurface conditions at or contiguous to the site, or drawings of physical conditions relating to existing surface or subsurface structures at the site are known to owner.
You can have that?
Yeah.
I keep looking for forward, I keep finding it. Every number but.
Way in the back.
Is that supplementary?
Yeah, supplement.
Supplementary.
Letter I, supplementary.
And when you say owner, you're talking about the city.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we do.
Owner with a capital O is the city.
That's not your statement.
That's right, we do know of them. Yeah, there have been.
Well, there's
studies.
reports, but there's not problematic conditions, so maybe we reword it, just say we're not aware of
No cap.
subsurface conditions that
There
are.
are no adverse subsurface conditions known to owner.
Yeah, instead of
Yes,
yes.
yeah, that's,
Is there a motion?
I make a motion,
I'll second that.
okay, freeze.
Oh, pardon.
We got articulated, we can't vote on it.
Okay, the K-freeze restate,
Reword.
I'm just trying to keep the studies out of it.
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to think about.
restate the reference. to
Are you looking at it from a liability standpoint?
No, I'm working about sending it for the next step. Would you have time to do that before Tuesday?
Yeah,
Change that language that they recommend?
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that's just,
go ahead.
Well, what we're trying to say is there's no adverse, that you're not aware, K-Free is not aware of any adverse effects. Some resulted from the previous,
That we're not aware of any.
they're not aware of any,
yeah.
That the city
but that the owner.
owner,
What's the simplest statement that's true?
Can we do this? Can we make that as a recommendation to council? That they change the language in the RFP to that? You approve the RFP and you make a recommendation that the language be changed on that certain item.
Is that gonna kick the can down the road to the next council meeting before the
No,
RFP is approved?
we can do it on the 25th, because we will present this to council on the 25th. They will get that. We will, present this RFP along with your recommendation that they change that language. And then they will vote on it.
They can choose to do so or not do so.
Correct,
And either way, we've approved the RFP with that amendment.
correct. And it's on record that you want to change.
So we're saying that K-Freeze is not aware of any subsurface defects resulting from previous owner studies.
Well, we're not aware of one either.
Nobody is.
Nobody's aware. They haven't disclosed a cavern or anything under there, any prior studies.
Yeah, I think it could just be, no adverse subsurface conditions are known to owner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or is not aware of any
That's-
adverse.
The smallest number of words that are still true.
Let me have it.
I don't need to read my hand.
Yeah, I hope you. My God, your writing is worse than mine. No adverse subservice conditions known to the owner,
Simple enough.
Yeah,
but you have no reports. Okay.
That would
Okay,
replace.
it says no, okay, I make a motion that K-Freeze modify paragraph SC-4.02 subservice and physical conditions. A, no reports of adverse subservice conditions known to the owner.
If you make a motion for that to be, it has to be changed in the document before it goes to council. Because you're not doing a recommendation now, you're actually changing the document.
But now that he's made the motion, and the engineers has indicated he can make the change before it goes to council,
Right.
is there a second?
yeah, I'll second.
But
Moved and
that
seconded.
hasn't approved the RFP.
Correct.
So this is just to change the RFP, not to approve it.
Right.
Correct.
Would you reread the motion just so everybody is?
So,
Yes, the motion that K-Freeze modify the RFP section SC-4.02 to A, no reports of adverse subsurface conditions.
Or known by the owner.
No,
Yeah.
no to the owner.
We're not withholding any vital information.
so here's the question on that. If we make that recommendation, we vote on it and we pass it, we can't direct K-Freeze, city staff has to do that.
No,
Is
yeah,
that-
but it will be done. My issue is that if K-Freeze, if he takes it back and their legal team says, no, we're not taking it, we won't be able to take it the 25th. So if Brian can guarantee you that their legal would not have any issues with that, then I would be objective to that. But if,
Yeah.
when you start talking about liability and caveats for that, they get very particular. That's my only concern.
It seems like we're clarifying it for their benefit.
That's what I'm saying.
And if it's a true statement.
Well, you would think that, but a lot of times the lawyers have different ideas. But it's up to y'all. I'm just pointing out the issues that.
Do you see an issue with it, Ron?
No, I mean, we don't have a lawyer that's gonna look at
And
it.
this
Okay.
council doesn't have to come up with this language.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
That's a help.
So it's been moved and seconded, so now we can vote on your motion, and after that, there can be a subsequent vote where we vote to recommend it to council, if that's the way we choose to go. Okay,
Correct.
well, it's been moved and seconded,
Okay. Vice Chair Fleming,
Aye.
Chairperson Abney,
yes.
Panelist Holt,
Yeah.
and Panelist Bose.
Yes. What happened to Joe?
Do that.
He had another engagement.
Carter, listen.
This is gonna be recorded.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Motion passes. Further discussion on agenda item number 4? If there's no further discussion on agenda item number 4, I'll vote that this panel recommend the city council to accept this request for proposal from K-Freeze and put it on the street for bid.
I second. Sounds good.
Moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, say that again. I thought we recommended this to the city council.
If there's no further discussion, I move that this panel recommend the city council to accept this RFP and put it out on the street for bid.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
And you seconded.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Now second it twice.
We got a second.
Yeah, squared.
Panelist Bose,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Chairperson Abney,
Yes.
and panelists vote.
Yes. That concludes our agenda for this meeting. Meeting's adjourned.
We're building on I-35 and Georgetown. Talk about the survey.
Yeah, that issue. I was gonna ask the city manager if you did any better than, I was going to ask the city manager